What's up, good people, man? Welcome back. We've been talking about a lot. Uh, Before we get started, I did bring up before that last show ended that I was looking at the Baltimore Orioles to win the game because I was looking at that Baltimore bridge collapse. You know what? I don't even know if I got that up here, bro. Here we go. That should have been it right there. Okay, yeah, I was looking at that Baltimore bridge collapse, which collapsed on March 26th, or the bridge collapsed. London Bridge is falling down. That's when the Queen died. That's the saying that they say. London Bridge is falling down because the Queen got to pass the crown over to her offspring, which was her son, right, King Charles. So yeah, from that was March 26th, right, and the date 2 days ago was March 22nd, 2024, 149 days. 35th prime number. I was talking about Ma Moore. Now she was 35, and they were at the retired jersey from Minnesota, and Tim Walsh was from Minnesota, right? All connecting sports to politics, right? But I didn't. I was leaning towards Baltimore, but if I would have checked, I would have seen that the Houston Astros got their 46 win on that day. 35 and 46, it just go together, man. I don't know why this is not up here no more, but real quick, Catholic 71, 35, 35th president was Catholic, 46th president was Catholic. 71, 35, 46, these numbers are going to run hand in hand. So if I would have just looked, seen that Houston Astros could have got their 46 win, boom, right? On the day, 149 days since that boat crashed into the bridge, right? Which is the 35th prime. It would have made perfect sense that the Houston Astros get their 46 win. And Orioles get stuck on 33. Which is cool. That's part of it. Let's keep it pushing. Because I do got some things I do want to touch on. Let's go here. I talked about this before. The individual, man, the human being. Like I said, they want to put us all in groups. That's the big thing. Keep us all in groups, and then you get a group of leader, and then you just control the leader. It's way easy to control the group that way, because the leader gonna get the backlash at the end of the day, right? But we are all individuals, right? And it seemed like the fight is against individuality, right? I got this light bulb up here. There hasn't been any great innovative thoughts since the early 1900s. How do you know that? How can I say that? Just look at the invention list. You look at the invention list, most of the inventions came out late 1800s, early 1900s. That was like the age of enlightenment. Now, it ain't too many inventions going on because the true sign of intelligence is imagination. You were learning before you got in the classroom. And guess what? You're going to be learning once you get up out that joker, too. The true sign of intelligence is not memory, it's imagination. Being able to think. Like I said, you're alike. So, let me see if I got this. If I can pull this up real quick, right? I am on Twitter X, whatever you want to call it. All right. We talked about Fauci and the vaccination. I gave both sides. So they can't really, I'm trying to keep them off my butt. Let me try to kill a little time right quick, man, before we get into it. Matter of fact, I talked about it, so we got to talk about it. So we got to do it. Here we go.
The Earth is electromagnetic. The canes they use were made out of. Ever wondered why all?
Okay, it just get right into the video. I don't give you no time to set it up or nothing. All right, so yeah, this is what I've been talking about: the electromagnetic field that surrounds you. Right? They call it your aura. Right? 7 chakras, 7 aura layers, and this video is gonna explain why. In the olden days, you always used to see a person with a cane, right? Especially what we would call an enlightened person. All right, so here we go.
Ever wondered why all the ancients used to hold canes? The Earth is electromagnetic. The canes they used were made out of wood and metal because it conducts electricity and allows them to be grounded to the Earth. Modern day canes have rubber bottoms, just like our shoes have rubber bottoms. This was done on purpose to keep us from being grounded from the Earth. Grounding reduces inflammation and charges the electromagnetic field of the body. The ancients understood that the body is an electrical machine. This is why these 2,000-year-old shoes have metal plates on the bottom. Every single cell, every single organ has its own electromagnetic field. Our spirit is our spiraling energy field. Putting on the armor of God in the Bible means to have a strong electromagnetic field. If you haven't already, read my book, The Book of Wisdom. It will tell you everything you need to know about reality, the human energy field, and so much more. The link is in the bio. Ever wondered?
Yeah, so that's something that they keep it from us, right?
We made that up. But when the religion moved to
the electromagnetic field. I gotta go back to my guy now. As he was dropping some signs, and I closed out the show with him. But I want him to go in because I got something else that's coming after that. But this is Bill, not Phil. This is Bill Donahue. Bill Donahue teaches about esoteric Bible information, right? This is 77 Jesus teaching the I am, right? Even Moses taught about the I am, right? It's that classic verse in Exodus. Moses was like, I got to go back and tell these Hebrew Israelites who told me these laws. So what's your name? What is your name? And God told him, I am the I am, right? And those are the 2 most powerful words in the English language is I am. Because whatever you say after that, it really don't matter. The I am, right? The Yahweh, that's the real you. That being that's saying I. Everything that come after that don't really matter. The being that's saying I, right? It's the I am that I am. That's what Exodus was talking about, and Jesus was talking about it too. But the problem is the church, is the Catholic Church, right? Because all your pastors, no matter what, they're gonna have to go to
as friends. Simply put, we have sold.
They're gonna have to go to Bible school, right? They're gonna have to go to Bible school, and who you think control that? Man, who controls the days of the week? Who controls the numbers? They taught us everything. They taught us everything.
Out. It has not gone unnoticed that several Protestant presidents have.
Well, we see that part, so we're gonna skip past that. We're gonna get back to it. Because that video, it is important too. All right, but let's do this. While we talk about the electromagnetic field, right? The importance of meditation can't go without being talked about.
the scripture, which is Matthew 19:16, and I'd like you to write some of these down. Because in that scripture, 19:16 of Matthew, a young fellow who knew all about the law and the rule and religion, he comes up to Jesus and he says, "Good master, what must I do to have eternal life?" And Jesus says to him, "Don't call me good. What are you calling me good for? There's only one who's good, and that's God. Jesus was turning the attention of the world away from himself to that which is the cosmic universal presence of God, which is within everybody, as Jesus says. The kingdom of God is within you.
So within the first, not even a minute, the first 30 seconds, you can see why the Roman Catholic Church wanted to kill Jesus, why the character Jesus had to die. All right? Most of this stuff is interpreted by the church. When you read the Bible for yourself, you see that, hold on, wait a minute. Jesus was beefing with the church. They didn't like the way Jesus was teaching spirituality. He telling them they doing it wrong. So yeah, he's Tupac. He's all these archetypes to come afterwards. They're built off of every greatest story ever told is built off this dude right here, Jesus Christ. Neo in the Matrix, one of the greatest movies of all time, is Jesus Christ. One of the greatest superheroes of all times, even though I hate his guts, is Superman, is built off of Jesus Christ. The one who bucked the system. And they had to get rid of him. And they're still running the world to this day. And we'll use his name. They do the same thing with Tupac. We'll use his name, even though he was totally against them. They'll give him a holiday, Martin Luther King Day. That's how they feel about your so-called saviors, your so-called leaders. At the end of the day, can you trust them?
And then we quoted things and we tried to see just about this Jesus, and we're starting to find out that the things that he said are not what religion told you that he said. First of all, he said that he's not coming back in such a way as to be seen, Luke 17, 20 and 21, because the kingdom is within you. And he says the kingdom does not come in such a way as to be seen. Then in this scripture, Matthew 19, 16, he says, don't call me good. I'm not good. There's only one who's good. That's God, not me. Then in John 5:19, he says that he can do nothing of himself and that you could do better than he did. Then we got up to John 14:13, and he said, anything that you ask the Father in my name, I will do it. And then he goes on in John 16:23, he says, don't ask me nothing, but if you ask in my name, the Father will do it. So we don't know who's going to do it, him or his Father or who that.
Go tell your mama, Jesus said, you could do greater works than he did. She's going to slap the taste out your mouth. Go tell your mama that right now. Be like, hey, mama, Jesus said you could do greater works than he did. She gonna be like, you crazy? Because anything to do in the past, you could get real freaky with it. Dinosaurs can exist, snakes can talk. It was the history. A lot of But like I said, my grandma told me something that stuck with me for 30 years, which was, son, it ain't nothing new under the sun. Right? The way things is now, if back in the past, it ain't too different than, it ain't too much different than that. Now, the TV and media, they can make you believe. They can make you believe whatever they want you to believe. They controlling the mind's eye, so it is what it is. They're controlling the sheep.
That's gonna do it. But the point being here that he is taking us on a journey that if we'll really have Jesus as Lord, which none of us has ever done because we followed churches and religions and evangelists and threw the money their way and then said, well, whatever they say goes. No, whatever Jesus said goes. And then in John 5:30, Jesus says, of my own self, I can do nothing. The words that I speak to you, he said in John 14:10, are not mine, the words of the Father. So the Father in Jesus does the work, not Jesus. But what about you? Who's in you to do the work? Well, Jesus said in John 14:20, you shall know that I am in you, the Father in you, and you in me. So it's inside of you. The whole Megillah is inside of you.
But they'll be out here looking for the Ark of the Covenant. They'll be out here in Israel digging up shit like they really gonna find something. And we be watching it like we really believe. Spirituality ain't about nothing outside of you. It's not. That's the root of spirituality. It's you. Spirit is breath. Your breath. You breathe. Soul is mind. Your mind. You came in this joker by yourself, you're gonna leave by yourself. It's nothing outside of you. Ain't no reason to fight no wars. I'm sorry. That's just not my message. That's not spirituality. Religion. King James and the company, the London Company of Virginia. Company. King James, we know for rewriting the Bible. Religious. It's all one and the same. All right. And they went after the indigenous people for their land. Now, look, I'm indigenous to this land, right? You come to me, you come over here selling on the boat, and you got a fucking piece of paper. Like I said, that's all they doing is, working with paper, doing sorcery with paper. That's their main source. That's why it's called the papacy. The paper bulls. They come over here with a piece of paper like, this land is ours. Well, look, I'm indigenous to this land. The land technically don't belong to me. It belongs to God. That's like coming over here saying this ocean is ours, or this air is ours. The air don't really, as an indigenous person, the air really don't belong to me. It belongs to, Father God, Mother Earth. I don't really got, no say in it. I know it don't belong to you though. But at the same time, we didn't look at land as something to claim. And this was it was a spiritual, it's a spiritual thing. I was made to till this land, and then the land in return feeds me. And that's as far as it went. It wasn't about putting a price tag on nothing like that. So selling some land, it just, and like I said a while ago, like, yeah, coming over here getting people sick. Like I said, these is Hebrews, these is alchemists. They coming over here whipping up brews, Hebrew. They're making e-liquids. They're making the witch's brew, which is alcohol. You drink the alcohol, the next day you get sick. You're sick. Now you want a cure. You want a miracle. You want a miracle. All right. Go look up stereotypes of Native Americans, right? Because anybody can be a Native American, but just to point you in the right direction, look up stereotypes of Native Americans. You're gonna see alcohol. I know it sounds like I'm making this stuff up, but I'm not. I'm really not. If you use logic, it all go together. It all links up. Go look up the stereotype of Native Americans: casinos, alcohol. You get an indigenous person never had a drink in their life. Now look, Europe, Dark Ages, they had to drink alcohol. Why? Because the water was polluted. So drinking alcohol to them, they come over here and have a drink with you. They know they're going to get sick in the morning. Don't really bother them. It's got a hangover. But you get sick in the morning. You never been sick. You never had a drink. You don't know you don't know what's wrong. Oh, don't worry. We got the other batch of the brew, which is the miracle cure, and to make you feel better. It's medicine. It's the Red Cross. Bruh. The Red Cross. Yeah. More people die in hospitals than anywhere. I don't think I gotta I don't think I gotta clean that up. I think everybody pretty much know that. More people die in hospitals than anywhere. All right, let's keep pushing.
See, Jesus said in John 14:23, if you keep my words, my Father will love you, will come, will live, will make our abode with you. So the same Father who lived in Jesus and who did the work in Jesus, because Jesus said he couldn't do it, the same Father is the Father that's in you. And the only way that you can find the location of this Father is if you keep Jesus' words, follow his way, which is meditation. If your eye be single, your body will fill with light. You take away the key because you don't enter within yourself. Take no thought. When you pray, into the closet and close the door.
Jacob wrestled with God on the top of Mount Peniel, like the pineal gland. Like, come on, man. It's a spiritual book, man. It's not your history book. So, and this the root of a lot of wars is religious. A lot of wars been religious. Now, a few of them might have been over oil and money and land, but most, I mean, like I said, the London Company of Virginia, a religious war to get the land. What land? This land that we on right now is America.
All of these things, which is you.
America. America. That's one of the most powerful pictures you're ever gonna see. That's a paint. That's what they thought of America. We're gonna come back to that.
You must meditate, see. Because I said, what the heck's the sense? If this guy's saying, if Jesus is saying that he can't do anything, why keep his words? You know, Jesus saying, if you keep my word, but yet he's saying that can't do nothing. So I said, what the heck is he talking about? Why keep his word? In John 14:24, Jesus says, the word you hear is not mine, it's the Father's. And the Father is that which is the higher brain. The Father is that which is the manifestation.
That's why they say Jesus only spoke in parables. I had a brother deep into the Bible. He was arguing me with that point. I had to pull the scripture up and say, yeah, Jesus only spoke in parables. Only parables Jesus spake. You know, it's double talking. It's pair of bulls. So one of these is bullshit. What do you think the mass amount of people is getting? They're getting the exoteric meaning. They're not getting the esoteric meaning. One of these meanings is bullshit. It's a pair of bulls. The bullshit. And you think I'm just saying bullshit just to say bullshit? I'm not, because the magic mushroom come from what? Bullshit.
Station of the universal cosmic God would manifest inside of you. That's when Paul said, I have the mind of Christ. But what about praying to Jesus? I mean, you know, you're told, aren't you? Aren't you told, and you got to look me straight, aren't you told when you turn on your TV by the evangelist that invite Jesus into your heart? Pat Robertson's on every day telling everybody, invite Jesus into your heart. Ask Jesus to come into your heart. Isn't that what they say? And he leads you in this prayer, oh, Jesus, come into my heart. John 16:23. You write it down. John 16:23. Jesus says, in that day you shall ask me nothing. Do you see why everything's screwed up? Do you see why we have never been able to find our way out of the mess that we've created on this planet? And the reason is because we'll listen to Pat Robertson, but we won't listen to Jesus Christ, because Jesus Christ does not say what Pat Robertson says. Pat Robertson says, invite Jesus, ask Jesus to come into your heart, and Jesus says, don't ask me for nothing. So who do we listen to? Pat Robertson.
Well, that's that prosperity preaching. That's what really hurt the church. It's proper, you know, all these people running around here talk about Jesus, don't know, but really don't know nothing. Ask them something. Like I said, Jesus had to kick ass at least once. They looking at me like I'm crazy, but I'm like, nah, it's in the Bible. But if all you heard was prosperity preaching all your life, you know, That's where your mind gonna be. The prosperity preachers, the Joe Osteens, the Creflo Dollar, Creflo steal your dollar. The prosperity preacher. You see, that's why I'm talking about spirituality versus religion. Because religion is just a bunch of feel good stories that the prosperity preachers use to steal your money. And look, why they don't ever go to jail? Why they don't ever get arrested? They clearly out here pulling a whole lot of bullshit and wolves over people's eyes, but never do they get prosecuted. Where are these prosperity preachers at? There go Joel. All right. Let's let the brother keep talking.
How's he going to save you? He couldn't even get elected. Now, it's so serious. What we've been so misled by this stuff. They've made institutions of this stuff and great organizations founded on money telling you that Jesus said things that he never said, and telling you that Jesus said this when you find out he said the opposite. You know that every evangelist that comes on television says that you should ask Jesus to come into your heart. And here's Jesus in John 16:23 say, in that day, ask me nothing. But does it make any difference to you? Does it make any difference that we're screwing the whole thing up? Could that maybe the reason why ever since Jesus left, we've been fought one war after another? Could that maybe be the reason why the kids are following Satanism? Could that be the reason they're all taking drugs and committing suicide and you have nothing but bombs falling ever since Jesus left? Maybe because we didn't pay attention. We don't pay attention, but we pay attention to all of these people that got their hand in your pocket. Maybe that's the reason things are screwed up. Look at it again. When they tell you to ask Jesus to come into your heart, remember that Jesus said in that day, you shall ask me nothing. And why shouldn't you ask him to come into your heart? Because he's already there. He's already there. It says in Colossians that he's in barbarians and nomads and everybody, bond and free, slave. Doesn't make, Christ is in all. It's not a question of you asking Jesus to come in to your heart. He's asking you to come into his, which is the higher consciousness within you. But what about interceding for you? Surely they told us Jesus will pray. So ask Jesus and he'll set it up with his Father. John 16:26, Jesus says, and I say not that I will pray for you. Holy cow. John 16:23, don't ask me nothing. And John 16:26, I'm not going to pray for you. Why? Because he's trying to get you to take your eyes off of people and religions and churches and go into the place of the single eye. Matthew 6:23, if your eye be single, your body will fill with light. Turn away from looking at men, turn away from listening to people, turn away from listening to evangelists, and listen to that inner voice through meditation, which is in the upper room. If your eye be single, your body will fill with light. That's why he say, don't pray to me and don't ask me for nothing, and I can't do anything, and I'm not going to do it even if I could, because I'm trying to get you to understand the kingdom is within you, and if you will search and seek within yourself, you'll find it. And why does he say you shouldn't pray to him? Because he says in John 16:27, because the Father himself loves you. In other words, that which is the universal cosmic goodness of God is manifesting itself within you in the higher consciousness, and you have access to it. So why do you go to anybody? That's what Jesus is trying to figure out. You can get mad at me. Oh, I could see them getting really ticked off here. And you know why the organization gets ticked off at me? Because if I finally show you that God is within you, what do you need them for? That's what Jesus said. They said, oh, boy, these are beautiful buildings, they said to Jesus. He says, there ain't going to be one of them left standing on top of the other. Oh, fall down. I didn't make this stuff up. I gave you the verses. You look at it. You look at it. In John 14:23, it says, whatever you ask the Father in my name, he'll give it. Now, you've been asking Jesus' name. You know, I want a new car. You still got the old car. I want enough money to pay the mortgage. You didn't get the money. You wanted so-and-so to get healed. He died.
If the eye be single, the body shall fill with light. We've been lied to, bro. But there's so much money that would be lost. I mean, there's so much money that would be lost out now if these people woke up. Do we really want the people to wake up? That's the question. I really want to know. Do y'all really want people to wake up? Are you like me? I'm like, yeah, I really don't give a damn. You wake up, you don't. Don't make me none. Like I said, I didn't come in this motherfucker with you. I ain't leaving here with your ass neither. So whether you wake up or not, it seems to me the way the matrix is set up for certain people not to wake up. That's the way the game is set up. Certain people just ain't gonna wake up. What are you gonna do? Stop your journey because this motherfucker don't want to wake up? That's a real question. I got two questions. For the first question is, should we wake everybody? Should we be wasting our time trying to wake everybody up? And then the second question is, if you can't wake a person up, are you gonna stop your journey because they don't want to wake up? Let me know. Somebody let me know.
So what? Because he's not saying this. He's saying whatever you ask in my name, and I showed you last week, the word name in the Bible does not mean somebody's proper name. The word name in mysticism, and Jesus spoke in mysticism, it says he never talked but in a parable. The word name.
You're only talking in a parable. The people who wrote the Bible is all mystics. They're all mystics. This is what they do. It's not Shakespeare, even though Shakespeare is a mystic. His words, everything we watch nowadays is esoteric meaning behind everything. So you think the the greatest book of all time? That's why it's that. Because you can break it down psychologically, you can break it down biologically, you can break it down astrologically. That's why it's the coldest book ever written. But God Himself didn't come down and write that book. So shout out to the intelligent men who wrote it. But at the end of the day, this is they observed biology, they observed astrology, and they romanticized it and personified it, and came up with a great book.
Name means way. And that's the way they said it. It's just like you said, let's go shoot the bull, or 3 sheets to the wind, or it's raining cats and dogs. That word name means if you say something in mind.
But it's a lot of old wisdom that has been around this realm a long time, a long, long time, way before the Bible. The wisdom that is in the Bible has been around for a long, long time, bro. This is the beehive. This was a hive mind before this modern day, Roman colonization. This was a hive mind. That's why you can see pyramids in Egypt. You can see pyramids in Peru. Because it was a hive mind. And when it had a queen bee, the female, the patriarchy. That's the patriarchy they talk about. Because this was a hive mind. This is why we was all kind of thinking alike. Everywhere around the world, these archaeologists go. They start to see that. Damn, how did they know this? And it's the same thing that was going on over here. But they won't tell you the connection. The connection is we're human. We're human. We're two. We're this is the duality world. So we're two. We're humans, right? To live on this realm, we got to be human. But above all, we're beings. We're beings that are humans, not human beings. We are beings that are humans. The being, be. And we was all once controlled by the queen bee. That's the matriarchy, patriarchy that they talk about. It was all one hive mind. We all thought alike, right? on some, but it was high intelligence. It wasn't like we was, you know, it was efficient the way we was thinking. The way it is now is kind of chaotic, but the way we was thinking, it was peace and harmony among the earth. When the queen being, right, controlled all the beings, and the hive mind was taking place around this earth. So we didn't have to talk to each other. We could still, we know you building the pyramid, we building the pyramid. We got that Wi-Fi connection. That's what, you know, bees move off of, basically Wi-Fi. That's why a lot of bees is dying out now, because this new Wi-Fi, this what they call it, the new Wi-Fi. You know what you know what I'm talking about, the 5G, yeah, 5G.
My name, that means you're doing it the way I told you to do it. And Jesus said the only way is the narrow way, which is meditation. So he says, if you pray to the Father, and that means if you enter into meditation, if you rise to the higher consciousness, which is the Father, the way I tell you to do, then you will get what you want. So what are you going to get? What are you going to get? If you ask that way, are you going to get, you know, a big screen TV or maybe a new car? No. Because the rule is that you must ask in the way Jesus said. That's the rule. What is the way? What did he say to ask for? Matthew 5:11, he said, give us this day our daily bread. Once again, bread, let me bend over, I got to pick something up. Bread is a symbolic word. It doesn't mean bread. It doesn't mean a loaf of bread. It doesn't mean Wonder Bread. It means bread means wisdom. It means understanding in the same way that horse does. It's another word in mysticism that means wisdom and understanding. And all you're supposed to do, you go into meditation to the higher consciousness to seek wisdom and understanding so that you can handle the affairs of your life and the lives of your family and your children and your kids and everybody else in the neighborhood. And you can help people. Your only reason for existing is to be of help to another person. And so then you don't ask for money because he is money. You don't ask for health because he is health. You don't ask for prosperity because he is prosperity. You don't ask for family relations being taken care of because he is family relations. All you need then is Christ, and you get Christ by following his way, entering into the house, going to the upper room, sitting at the right hand, which is casting your energy to the right hemisphere of the brain.
Cast thy net to the right, the fisherman of man, Jesus Christ. He sits at the right hand of God, the right hemisphere of the brain. The right hemisphere of this brain controls creativity, ideals. The true sign of intelligence is imagination. So look, we give you porn because you ain't using no imagination. We give you TV shows, you ain't using no imagination. As long as you ain't using no imagination, we all good. We'll control the command. You know, a monopoly on imagination is crazy. That sounds crazy. But the big secret, the big secret, these people is using sorceries, son. These people are using This is magic. All right, I've been talking about this. I wanted to play this right quick.
Towards Earth as we speak. I'd like to take a moment out of the day to address the allegations that this is somehow my fault. Did I shock you? Are you crazy yet? Well, I have someone I'd like you to meet. Come on up here, Paula. America, I'd like you to meet my good friend Paula. And here's Paula again. And here's Paula one more time. We cloned these three. You know who killed Kennedy?
Yeah, yes. Who killed Kennedy?
Ready
Okay, here we go.
for the truth, America? Here it comes. Oswald killed Kennedy. That's right. Lee Harvey Oswald killed John F. Kennedy alone and by himself with the magic bullet. That's right. The bullet was actually magical. Magic does exist. We've known about this for some 2,000 years. I'm not finished yet. I have some more information that...
He ain't say 2,000 years for no reason, bro. Yeah, you're magical. Just like they just talked about with this. Using electromagnetic and magnet is magic. electricity. They make guides about electricity, and you are all of that. They give you the rubber shoes of death so you don't be grounded.
Why all of the ancients used to hold canes? The earth is electromagnetic. The canes they used were made out of wood and metal because it conducts electricity and allows them to be grounded to the earth. Modern day canes have rubber bottoms, just like our shoes have rubber bottoms. This was done on purpose to keep us from being grounded from the earth. Grounding reduces inflammation and charges the electromagnetic field of the body. The ancients understood that the body is an electrical machine. This is why these 2,000-year-old shoes have metal plates on the bottom. Every single cell,
Yeah, it's to reduce your magic. And you get your magic to them. Your favorite football team, your favorite basketball team, your favorite politician, you give your magic to them. And they just cipher it all up. And then they'll die ritualistic death. We see it all the time. Which your energy, right? That G that's trapped inside that Masonic compass and square, we're giving it away, and it's precious. How else you gonna fight? Bruh, hold on, wait a minute, wait. All these Harry Potter movies has just popped in my mind too. How else are you gonna fight sorcery? With we gonna get some guns, and we gonna unite. We gonna do all this bullshit. Excuse my language, niggas talk about doing all this sorcery going on. Ain't nobody paying attention. They just caught up in their feelings and emotions. We need to get some guns. We need to start an army. Nah, you fight sorcery with sorcery. There's a reason why they want to keep you all separated, man. God is a verb. God is a verb. God, gut. To pour out, to sing out. You ever heard that song, Caroline? Sweet Caroline. Bum, bum, bum. They play it in the stadium and stuff. That's a deep song. That's a cold song. Everybody in the stadium knows the song. Everybody in the stadium sings it at one time. They pouring out together. They're singing out together. That's a powerful. They don't play it all the time. They only do it on special days, right? Probably a full moon or something like that. But yeah, you fight sorcery with sorcery. That's what you come from. We thought we could make it, and whether it's true or not, I don't know. But the saying was we could make it rain by dancing, the rain dance, and they'll tell you that's witchcraft now, it's evil. And I'm showing you the Moroccan flag. It's the pentagram. It's just the female star, and they made her evil, the Eve of El. And I'm saying we was all controlled by the queen bee. We all human beings, the beings that are human. So we was already magical people. They came over here with their magic. That's why, Bird versus Magic, that video game, the 32 for the Moors, the 33 for the Celtics. The Magic Johnson, because the sexual energy is how we got conquered. It all plays itself out. Even that's why I watch sports, man, because it's telling good. I'm like, bro, I'm getting good ass stories from this shit. All these sports stories, there's always a great story behind it. Like Taylor Swift being Dorothy, and Dorothy is the doorway. And then how you get to a doorway, you need an usher to get you to the door. Bro, it's just so much cold stuff with it. So many cold stories. I'm addicted to it. But I don't think I got off track. Let me let the brother talk.
allowing the brain cells on the right side to start to come to life, and then this is all a physical, psychological thing. You've been instructed by this man who knew exactly. He said, don't pray to me, don't ask me for anything, I'm not going to pray for you, I can't do anything. All you have to do is do it in the way that I tell you to do it, and you'll have success. In fact, he says, you'll do better things than I do, and he's telling you you can do this, and all the church is telling you is that you're a guilty sinner, and that you go scrabbling on the floor asking for forgiveness from somebody, and all of this nonsense. Ask anything in my name in the way I tell you, and he says, I will do it. John 14:14. Watch, we're going to have some mystical stuff here. What did he say? Ask anything in my name, in meditation, the way I tell you, and I will do it. And how can he do it? Because he said that the Father would do it. What is the Father's name? If you go to the book of Exodus, and in the book of Exodus, chapter 3, verse 13, you'll see that Moses was in the desert. You know what that means? What does desert mean? Desert means confusion. Moses was in confusion.
Wow.
Let's follow this. Remember, Moses went to the burning bush. Let's follow this. Here's Moses. He's you. He's in the desert. It means he's confused. He doesn't know which way to turn. All of these words are symbolic. That's the way the Easterners wrote the Bible. Okay, so he goes up to the mountain. That's what Jesus is talking about. That's the higher consciousness. That's the Father. The higher consciousness is the mountain. Okay, he sees a bush. The bush is that which is attached to the earth. That means in the center of his carnal mind. That which is attached to the earth is the carnal mind. That's the human mind that you and I use. And in the midst of that bush, he sees a fire. Fire means spirit. So what does it mean? It means that Moses, who was confused, raised his conscious level, overwhelmed, right in the middle of his carnal mind, he saw that which is the spirit. Not with his visible physical eyes, he saw it with his single eye, as Jesus tells you, if your eye be single. And what happened? He then receives this message from that which is the great communicator, that which is the cosmic entity, the higher consciousness, where God, the universal God, speaks. And what is the name? He asks, what is your name? And then God gives his name. And this is the name that is given. You ready for this? I. That's God's name. I. I am.
Come on, man.
That I am. Why two I ams? Because it's YH, which is the male, WH, which is the female. In all, as Jesus said, when God created them, he made them male and female. It is that part of all of us. The spirit and the mind. Male and female. Male mind, female spirit. Okay? He made them male and female. So his name is I. And so this, then through tradition, this YHWH started to be pronounced Yahweh. And that's how the word Yahweh came. God didn't make that up. We made that up. But when the religion moved to Europe, there was no Y in Latin. So it became I, and there was H, but there was no W. So that became V, and there was an H. And this I in Latin is pronounced J. So it became JHVH, and we made it Jehovah.
The Joker. The fisherman of men. The J. The hook. Jesus. All right. Let's switch up right quick.
Used to put us in a stupor so that they can trying to fight to keep the.
Hold on before we get into it, because he said put us in a stupor. Well, we jumped ahead. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Yeah. I had to go back. Here we go. Let's go.
Patriarchy in power, knowing that these patriarchs was going to find a way, and they eventually said she killed herself. This is contemporary with your Jesus story, by the way. Jesus in Greek is spelled I-E-S-O-U-S, and the English rendition is I-S-I-S. But they told us it was J-E-S-U-S. Right? Because they turned the I into a J, because they books say, I will make you fisher of men. It became the hook on the hook and the flail of the Pharaoh. And then they gave it the same phonetic sound as the G. You didn't need a J. The Semitic languages had the gene, but in the Egyptian is the only place where there was a sound equivalent to the J, but it can still be translated as a G, which is the snake, right? So when they get done replacing Cleopatra, remember, the Bible was not assembled to 325 AD. The Cleopatra was living in the contemporary time with the person they call Jesus. Jesus in Greek is Isis. When you go to the Strong's Concordance and you look up Jesus, it's going to spell it IESOUS. Then you use the grammar pronunciation key because vowels, it changes the pronunciation of the consonant and the vowel that either follow or precede, depending on if the vowel is following or preceding the consonant. So the I cancels out the E, but it makes the S sound go hard on the S, and the O is merged as one vowel with the U that gives us the O sound. And then it makes the S at the tail go hard. S. So the proper pronunciation of the Greek name Jesus in English would be Isis. Right? This is all part of the Roman construct. We reconstructing what they call the great Babylonian empires that started with the head of gold and the breastplate of brass and all the way down to the feet of iron and clay. You strike the foundation and you bring down all that it ever stood for. The foundation of the fraud is the usurpation of the feminine with the feminine masculine, which is homosexual, which is romance, which is Roman customs and traditions that's passed on through the Etruscans to the
It's come down to a lot of male worship, man. It really do. It's a lot of male worship. And you can look at your life right now. You know you didn't come from that portal that you came out of was female. And these ancients that's studying, bruh, they are studying spirituality, bro. You think I study it? Nah. And they got way a leg up on me. Like, they've been done studying physics. Metaphysics is what they've been studying. That's what they want to know. Like, all the science, bro. If you go to a science, just type in science right now. I'm pretty sure they're going to be talking about metaphysics. Neil deGrasse Tyson, they talk about metaphysics. It's very popular right now. It's metaphysics, the spiritual world. Why you think science is studying it so hard? Because they know it's real. They study the ancients too. They know about the Book of the Dead. They know about all that stuff. That's why they made that movie, They Live. I mean, come on, bro. It's called They Live. The movie's called They Live. And they think the movie is about aliens. No, it's about dead people. And how dead people can stay on this realm and gather a whole lot of information, become very intelligent. And this is who these people is praising, man. Because look at the life of Jesus is duality. It's life, that birth, Bethlehem, that star in a manger, right? Right in the middle of the zodiac animals, mangers. Where you keep your animals at? In the manger. To his death, it's duality. That death, now they run with that death. You see that cross everywhere. I even got the cross. The cross is everywhere. The death, the life and the death.
defile the princes to make them unfit to rule. They sexually assault the males as youth. So when they begin to tap into their chakra system, the root chakra being shattered sends a mixed message to the crown chakra, which causes a condition that we call in the DMSB manual schizophrenia, paranoid delusions, multiple personality disorder. It's a shattered oracle is what it used to be called. Right. And this is why all of the Roman emperors was hardcore homosexuals, because they was all trying to make the next male unfit to rule, as in the case of Caligula and his uncle.
Birthright.
You with me, Rich?
Yeah, man, I'm listening, man. It's interesting. Yeah.
All this stuff is in a combination of historical texts and mythological literature. But because of the scrambled egg effect, where they took the story, which is called the Holy Drama, and they altered it so that it's just enough of your memory will make you attached to that doctrine.
Oh, this is crazy because he gonna say some stuff I said a while back, and it's just I don't know what you want to call it. Just it's deep thought. You just I ponder on this stuff, and I know a lot of history, but he's gonna talk about being under a spell. But he go deeper than I go because I'm like, just a spell. You just gotta start reversing these words, right? Because the spells in the words. Just study your etymology. But he's like, nah, it's like we under like 3, 4, 5 different spells though. So he's like, these are spells old ancients, bro.
Because remember, we coming out of several different spells of sleep. The Sumerians put us in the spell of Kingu with somebody named Humbaba. And the priests in Egypt put us under something called the Amen spell. That's why you put Amen behind all your prayers.
And then I was talking about the communion. I'm saying Amen. The sun card is represented by the white horse, and in the tarot deck, 52 card tarot deck. The sun card is represented by the white horse. The white horse represents memory, hippocampus. It's a white horse, the white seahorse. Hippocampus is connected to white seahorse. So, doing the sun ritual, giving the praise to the sun god Amun or Amen. You drink the communion, right? It's a ritual. It's definitely a ritual. You eat the flesh, you drink the blood, and you say the magic word. You say the magic word. With that magic word will be in Amun, Amen, which the sun card and tarot card is connected to the white horse. The white horse is connected to the seahorse, which is the hippocampus, which is connected to memory, and then it helps wipe your memory away. Because what is the main thing, right? So-called black people, right? That word black. What's the main thing that we debate about? Is history. It's history because we have a hard time remembering, just soulfully remembering or past life remembering. It's very hard to connect to the past. So we debate and argue about history a lot, right? When history should just be common sense. If history don't make common sense, then it must not be true.
To keep your God self sleep so that your lower self can wander around in darkness. And then we have what's called the George Washington Conjure, which is another blood. All these are blood ritual spells used to put us in a stupor so that they can continuously rule over us. But once we discover how it works, it no longer has effect and it frees the mind. And to free the mind is to free the soul. There you go.
Damn, let me go back to that because pan equal nap. I don't know if y'all can see.
There you go.
Pan equal nap, like go to sleep. The Pan Africans.
Rod, you said
Pan is also a Greek god, the one with the horns. The Pied Piper. It's where R. Kelly, Michael Jackson, he was Peter Pan too.
something earlier. Well, you know what? I'm gonna go into that later. But when we look at Denzel,
Hmm.
who does Denzel represent in antiquity? Is he a good guy? Is he a
Well,
bad guy? Who does he represent in antiquity besides being a colored brother?
okay,
A melanin.
so I don't know which character he's playing because I haven't looked into it like that.
He owns
But
slaves. He
from
owns slaves. I think. He owns some
mhm,
of.
right, and he was an organizer of the Colosseum fights, the
Right.
gladiator fights in the Colosseums. In modern terms, we would call him a dirty Moor. We wouldn't call him a righteous Moor. It's a difference in the two. And you can tell because the dirty Moors look at other people as an expendable product, but the righteous Moors look for the brotherhood in mankind. They a different animal altogether. They look the same, but they not the same.
Right.
Which takes us back to Kendrick Lamar and the Crip Walking and the OV song, and now it's all coming full circle.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Once we start exposing the sorcery, because that's the only thing that was keeping us, holding us back. We had to educate ourselves out of the condition in order to perceive.
That is it. And look, bro, you go tell a motherfucker in the streets right now. You know it's magic that's fucking us. They go laugh, yo. It's 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 a genius. It's super smart, bro. Because nobody's gonna believe that shit. But if you go down the rabbit hole far enough, you gonna know why that Griffin is holding his hand over that urn in that boule picture. The secret is magic. As crazy is your ass is magical, and they get you to curse it, get away with it, not do nothing with it. They try to get you as far away from it as possible, and surround you by electricity. They're gonna surround you by electricity, and you an electrical machine. You're a magical electrical machine. How you think you're gonna function?
The deception in the historical narrative given in order to tell the accurate history of our people. This is why they kept taking all of our leadership, because they don't want us to know who we is, because there's only two ways you can lose your birthright: forfeit or surrender.
Mm.
And normally if you get conquered, you have what's called a Jubilee redemption period,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the Jubilee is when, if you remember your birthright and your tribal traditions that you can use to claim your birthright, then they supposed to voluntarily surrender it to you. You ain't supposed to have to fight them for it. And this is being enforced by spiritual forces that's stronger than any of these bombs these mortals is building. And that's how we got in this, from bombs.
Mm. Mm. So when we look at the movie Gladiator, and the people remember the first Gladiator, what percentage at that time of Rome? Because we don't know how much we've been lied to about history. What percentage of Rome at that time? We think we had nothing to do with Rome, and I remember Bobby Hemmett was one of the first people who taught about the Etruscans. So I want to ask you two things: who were the Etruscans, and what percentage of Rome at that time were melanated people?
So the Etruscans was they were from they originate on Mount Hermon.
Okay.
And when they came down off of Mount Hermon, they wasn't calling themselves Etruscans, but they got kicked out of Africa. When they kicked them out of Africa, they went across the Pillars of Hercules, where Europe is separated from Africa by the Mediterranean outlet to the ocean. And when they got kicked out of Africa, they went into Europe and set up the Etruscan or Tuscany, right? But they went a different way as well. In Turkey, they set up what's called the Ottoman Empire. So now you're talking Byzantine kings.
Who kicked them out of Africa, Rod?
Africans.
Okay.
The reason they got kicked out of Africa was for using people for human capital and starting strife between tribes that was formerly peaceful.
Mm.
In the Nation of Islam, Elijah said everywhere they go, they cause mischief and bloodshed. They get between two peaceful people and turn them against each other, and then they offer them a solution.
So the Etruscans was some foul niggas.
They've been foul since they landed on Mount Hermon.
Okay. Wow.
Now, when you talking about Mount Hermon, now you talking about the ones they call the fallen ones, right? But they don't tell you that each one of the 200 was in charge of several hundred soldiers.
Right.
That's what they don't tell you. And this is why they tell you that verse in the Bible that say we are legion, for we are many.
Yeah.
But it's still not more of them than it is us. We the majority, they the minority. And when I say we, I'm talking about the earthborn tribes, different skin colors, different hair textures, dating back to Atlantis. Right? We didn't have skin-based discriminatory practices. We called people by their family lineage or their geographical point of origin. They started changing names to confuse us, and then they created something called nationalities that fall under the jurisdiction of a common agenda. We call it today the Uniform Commercial Code, but in the ancient times, it was called the Code of Thieves.
Right. Okay.
The Code of Thieves was originally written to exploit people. It was the code that all thieves supposed to follow.
Wow.
And that's why when you're reading in the Uniform
Hey, y'all hit the like button for me, man. Hit the like button, please.
Commercial Code, it tell you that when the rightful owner asserts his jurisdiction over his rightful inheritance, then the holder is obligated to surrender it without resistance. It's in the Uniform Commercial Code. That's an extraction directly from the ancient Code of Thieves. Right? The group in India that was assembled to fight against these people that followed the Code of Thieves were called the Thuggee. And they were sacred to, the deity they held sacred was Kali Ma, the Dark Mother, the Timekeeper. Right? Because every 26,000 years, she gonna show up and show out. And this is where we at now. The thugs came to overthrow the fraudulent kings in order to put the Nagas back in power. They look like us, but they not us. And this is the greatest confusion on the historical record that keeps them in power. And the last drop to break is the mental poison they call racism. Right? The superiority complex is being used because of the natural nature of extremism of the earthborn. Right? If you kill one of ours, we killing 10 of yours, and no question about it, unless we was held back by a outside spiritual agency, as in sorcery. Right? So when the elders made the agreement, they knew that we was gonna fight back. But all of the ones that wanted to fight back, they knew, well, we can't leave this one in the community. All you got to do is create a condition and he'll react to it. This sociology and social engineering, using the science of sociology, all of this dates back to the Talmud and the Mishnah before they had a Bible. Right? The Talmud and the Mishnah is the writing of the priests who was held in the so-called Babylonian captivity, where they picked up the money rights, Babylonian money magic. They picked up the blood rights, Babylonian blood magic. And they picked up the sex right, which was the Babylonian sex magic. How do I use these three?
That's just 3 forms right there. That's crazy, man. That's Rod Hayes, man. Go check out Rod Hayes, man. Ooh, shit. I'm gonna close. I'm closing out, man. But I want to play this video. This be Tupac got this Antichrist birthday. 616 when one is 6. 1971. 71 is Catholic. That's the Catholic number I've been talking about. I don't really trust Tupac neither, man. To be honest with you. We can play this.
Relates to this.
By planters' agents.
In the early 1600s.
Disturbed me and encouraged me. And
both had spent many, many years in probably the finest investigative operation in this country has ever mounted. And having said all of that, I'd like to introduce them.
All right, so yeah, this is Frontline. I know y'all probably like, damn, why don't no white people come and cuss him out for saying they were slaves? Because man, white people know this shit. White people know they ain't white people. They know they're Europeans. We don't know who the fuck we is. But they'll play the game. They'll play the white black game, the Creole game. But nah, man, they know what's up. Shit. It's only gonna be brothers that's gonna argue about that because for some reason people like the trauma bond. People like to bond the trauma. They hold on to it tight. They don't want to let it go. Let that go, man. How you gonna free your mind? You say your great granddaddy was a slave. That's crazy. You don't know. That nigga probably own land. You up here calling him a slave. That's crazy. That is crazy to me. I'll be rolling over my grave. My great grandkids over here calling me he was a slave. What?
I can tell you about this extraordinary book. Go ahead.
well, this book began not as a book, but began as a TV documentary. This is what we thought. Its origins are Australia. I was in Australia on holiday. My wife is Australian, and I was in that wonderful institution, the Mitchell Library in Sydney. And I came across there, understandably, the Australians are kind of interested in convicts and transportation, and they have a vast collection on convicts and transportation. And I came across an astonishing book. It was very old, very obscure, and it amazed me. It told of how women were in the 18th and 17th centuries and children too, were shipped and sold in America. And I'd never heard of this. I never heard of the details. And
So he found his old book talking about how people was being shipped, sold to America. All right, so cool. We all kind of know that story, so let's keep it pushing.
This only told a bit of the story. It disturbed me and encouraged me and horrified me, so I thought, great story here. And Don and I had been talking about how do we sell a story about the abolition of slavery? We've been talking about it and we hadn't come up with anything. I came back to England with the photocopy of this book, and he will tell you what happened then.
Well, I suppose that I'm Laurel to Mike's Hardy in that it was another fine mess he got me into. In that I read the what he had brought back, and what he brought back was photocopies of a book written by a man called Abbott Emerson Smith, who had written about how women, mainly prostitutes, but all sorts of other people as well, who were taken out of the Bridewell prison in London in the early 60s.
It had to be women. I'm sorry. I am sorry. But this is the truth. This is the truth channel. This is the truthers channel. It had to be women and kids. Take a grown man and chain him to the back of your and see what happens. And see if you sleep like a baby that night.
1600s and sent off to the new colonies in America as brides for the planters, if you like. So these were women of marriageable age or a breeding age or whatever who would be sent off, because up until then, of course, you had a brand new colony, it was all men, and for this to become viable, they needed women. And this seemed to be an astonishing thing. And so it went from there, and one looked at this and thought, well, this is just the tip of something. This is actually the edge of something here. And so the very fact that these women were taken out of the penal system in Britain, in England, and sent off to the new colonies with no say for themselves about whether or not they went or not. So the interesting thing was, what was it they were going into? What was it was already there that these people could just be taken out and shipped 3,000 miles away? And so we started to look at what this possibly could mean and what the wider context was of that. And that's how it began.
And we unearthed a wider and wider story. We found it wasn't just women, it was children, it was convicts, it was prisoners of war, it was all sorts. It was so people who signed up as indentured servants to get to America free of they didn't have to pay the passage, the poor. They would be contracted, indentured by merchants and by captains and by planters' agents to go to America free, in return for which they gave up their rights to their labour for several years. It was supposed to be, according to history, it's 4 or 5 years. In fact, it could be as many as 12. And what they didn't realise was that they were signing away all their rights, and they had become chattels. They were used as property, regarded as property. Now, as we began to investigate this, and we used all the kind of resources that investigators do. We look at every kind of book, every kind of official report, etc., diaries, letters. We realised it was an enormous story, and it was also something which refuted one of the great ideas of, well, one of the key ideas of the development of slavery, which is that in 1619 slavery began in America with the arrival of 20 and odd Negroes, as they were called.
20. Because it's North America. Because look, most people went. Hold on. Matter of fact, I got you. Here we go. Most people went.
What he told me was interesting. He said that
slavery in the Caribbean was, well, the majority of the slavery happened in the Caribbean and Latin America, which is one of the interesting things.
What? And Brazil. But why is it so? Why is, they call us black, and black is a curse word. You want to talk about black history? What you studying? Witchcraft history? Because that's black. That's what black means. All right, whatever. Yeah, most of this slavery that they talk about in this history, it wasn't going on here. They didn't bring a lot of slaves here. And the ones that they did bring was freaking white. All right, let the brother tell his story.
Because of Hollywood and because of the African-American community's massive cultural impact on the world, most people have come to understand racialized slavery through the lens of America. But I mean, more enslaved Africans were taken to the tiny Caribbean island of Martinique than they were brought to the United States. Almost 90% of the slavery happened in the Caribbean and Brazil. Well, the majority of the slavery happened in the Caribbean.
He said the tiny island, more people was brought to a tiny island than all of North America. I'm showing you the number.
In Latin America, which is one of the interesting things. Because of Hollywood and because of the African-American community's massive cultural impact on the world, most people have come to understand racialized slavery through the lens of America. But I mean, more enslaved Africans were taken to the tiny Caribbean island of Martinique than they were brought to the United States. Almost 90% of the slavery happened in the Caribbean and Brazil.
Which actually surprised me, because I just figured America was so big and so forth. But, back in the day, there was only 13 colonies. There was only a small portion. So most of...
Yeah, America was so big. America, before colonization, it ain't what they telling you. It ain't what they trying to make it out to be. That's why they didn't come over here with that bullshit. Like how they trying to make it seem like they did. It's just that when we tell a story, everybody takes to it. When we flip our hat backwards, everybody does. That's always been a thing. We got hella influence on the whole world. Globally, we got a lot of influence. So one story about some slavery in America trumps all that slavery that went down in the Caribbean, where it would be easy to, if you on an island, it'd be easy to just surround the island. Okay, we can enslave people. We got post everywhere around the island. Y'all ain't going nowhere. But coming to an island and slaves, coming to North America, thinking about the slaves from indigenous people, but all this land, nah, it just ain't gonna happen. And all these people that was over here, nah, they came over here with that book and some food and some shit to trade. They eased their way in, baby. It wasn't no just come over here and we just kicking the door in. We busting down, shooting niggas. Nah, hell nah. That ain't the story.
The Africans ended up in the Caribbean.
And Brazil, too.
And Brazil,
Brazil,
exactly. Yeah. And what he told me was interesting. He said that.
Okay, yeah, let's get back to these brothers. They telling a hell of a story.
Old, according to accounts, by a Dutch captain to planters in England, and this was where slavery began. Well, it wasn't true. Slavery had begun earlier. Children and women and convicts had been sold earlier than that, and although a small number of Africans were subsequently brought to Virginia and sold over the next decades, only very few, only 350 years later. 20 years later. But meantime, hundreds, thousands of poor whites were being brought in and on various convicts and children, etc., and they were being enslaved. So that started us thinking this is an enormous story. It was a story too big, in fact, to sell to television. There were so many aspects of it. We didn't know how to compact it, but we did think it was an important and terrific book.
Yeah. And then the question was, if we were right on what was going on, the question in your mind immediately is, as a journalist, is, well, why doesn't everybody know this already? Or have we just got the wrong end of the stick here? And that is, of course, everybody's fear. I mean, it's the fear if you're doing something contemporary, just as it is if you're doing something that's historical. That the famous kind of thing was that I remember when we worked in World in Action was there would be the person who would turn up with 3 briefcases full of documents. And your first thing in your mind was, is this person a crank? Or are they real? They've got a bee on their bonnet, they feel aggrieved, something terrible as far as they're concerned has happened in their lives. The question in your mind is, am I on the edge of a great story here, or is this another one of the astonishing numbers of cranks of the kind of a green and red ink brigade, yet again turning up with 1,000 documents to prove something which is totally and utterly mad and it's just a bee in their bonnet? So, of course, we were immediately worried about that as well. But we noticed certain patterns that, as we started to look at this, that appeared. One of which was that when you looked at these early people who were sent out, like Mike just talked about, children were sent out, street children were rounded up and sent off. And when you read about the official versions as to why this was happening in the very early 17th century, the official versions were always that this was a great humanitarian thing, that they were taking these poor urchins off the street and sending them off to start a new life in these fabulous new colonies, where instead of having a dead-end life where they die on the streets of malnutrition and illness, they would be given a new chance. Well, if that were true, it suddenly occurred to us, we would surely know that, because that would be one of the greatest humanitarian things that's ever happened in the history of the world. So why was it that that's the way it was painted up at the time, which it was? Even John Donne, the famous poet, who was the Dean of St. Paul's, actually gave sermons from the pulpit of St. Paul's Cathedral about how this is a wonderful humanitarian thing, that these kids who have been sent off for this fresh chance. Now, if that was true, why isn't it something, you'd know that at school, you'd be taught about it. But interestingly, it's something which at the time was made a big deal of, but not now. It's not on any syllabus. So there was obviously something odd about this.
Well, it's still perpetuated. You find that some history books still talk glowingly about how starving kids were.
Because you'll look this up and they will say 12.5 million to the Americas. It don't say North America specifically. We talk about North America specifically. Where we at? And it don't say dark or black. Most of the time, they just say African people. Where white people could be African people. Elon Musk is African, but I'm just saying, way back in the day, though, definitely North Africa and Southern Europe was rocking together heavy.
were sent to America and apprenticed. You can find it where it happened at Bridewell, St. Bride's Church. I believe there is a commemoration of the apprentices who were saved and sent to America. Well, we looked at the documents, as you should. We looked at every document. I'm sure historians must have done, but they missed a lot, because those documents showed that these children were picked up and how they were going to be sold, and what they were going to be priced for, and what rights they didn't have. In fact, the company gave to itself all rights over these children. It pretended to anxious parents, there were some, that no, they would be given apprenticeships, they'd get land in the end. Nonsense. Most of them were dead within a year anyway, but this is still perpetuated. Sorry, I interrupted there.
Quite right.
But thank God there are loads and loads of documents from the 17th and 18th centuries, and amazingly, and to be proven, to look at, to say, well, why hasn't that appeared? Why hasn't that been used? And you can test, as a journalist should, assumptions against these documents, and you can find that many assumptions are wrong. So perhaps some of ours are, but certainly a lot of the general historians' assumptions are bloody wrong.
And that was really our starting point, was to see why these assumptions had grown up, and why it was that what we were seeing in the contemporary documentation seemed to show a completely, if you like, a parallel universe. There's the official story, and there's the unofficial or perhaps true story, and we see huge parallels today in so many things, and it shows that spin was alive and well in the 17th century, just like it is now. You have the official story about what's happening, and then you have the hidden or covert story about what is really going on. And that's what we find that we were actually going after here.
Let me quote you from that great man, Thomas Jefferson. He was worried about the idea that lots of convicts have been sent to America, and God forbid, some Americans have been descended from convicts. He wrote this: "The malefactors sent to America were not sufficient in number to merit enumeration as one class. I do not think that the whole number sent would amount to 2,000, and being principally men eaten up with disease, they married seldom and propagated little. I do not suppose that themselves and their descendants are at present 4,000, which is little more than 1,000th part of the whole inhabitants." At that time, 1,000 convicts a year were being sent to America. According to unimpeachable sources, if you can believe convict traders, in Maryland alone, 600 a year have been going for 60 years. Tens of thousands of convicts have been flooding America, but does America want to know? No, it doesn't, and it hasn't ever since. You've got all kinds of self-delusions. I mean, you've got ideas about why America was so preoccupied in preventing the truth from coming out.
Well, I think that because of being an emergent nation, it was necessary to have a kind of creation myth, really. And I think that they were able to create one, really. I think that there's a very different thing if you look at what happened in Australia, whereas Australia and New South Wales in Botany Bay, it was set up as deliberately, they were designated penal colonies. And so anybody who went there, actually, and who's descended from it, they know they're descended from convicts. And actually in Australia, it's worn as a kind of badge of honor, because actually quite a lot of these convicts were, of course, just petty thieves and so on, and horse thieves and general ne'er-do-wells and riffraff.
And political dissidents.
But that's the point, exactly, because quite a lot of them were political dissidents. And so, of course, particularly, Irish nationalists and so on, who were rounded up and sent there in large numbers. And of course, for them, the fact that they'd been transported for their political views, of course, was like a badge of honor. But in America, it was much more amorphous. This is a much more heterogeneous thing, and it happened in a totally different way. That none of these new plantations, even though they were all about making money, it wasn't about getting rid of undesirables, although that was a large part of it. It was a money-making machine. And so what one had to do was to actually organize it. And there were so many different groups of people, of political dissidents, religious dissidents, political refugees, and all sorts of people, and people who went of their own free will and then find themselves caught up basically in labor camps and so on, that it was so much more amorphous. And out of it was born an idea of freedom, even at the time when...
And I go back to the doing business on our land, foreign entity.
Critical race, because the critical race is in question based off of who the race is against.
Okay, y'all enslaving people that y'all bringing over here. All right, we don't give a fuck, and y'all doing business on our land. That's what I'm saying. There you go. This ain't about no reparations. It's about rent. Rent is out. But the thing is to trick you into thinking you came from over there when the story is really reversed.
Meaning, who are the participants of the race? Listen to me. The reason why I'm saying it that way is because when you talk about the topic of race, this is about who an individual may feel as though is better. But that used to be called being prejudiced. But now they want to focus on, being racist. Okay, the only way it can be racist is if it's not done to just one particular group of people. It's done to all. It's done to all. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there's a lot of foreigners that are coming over here, still to this very day. Mm-hmm. And when they get indoctrinated in school,
the first thing they learn is, hey, you're black, they was enslaved, right? That's all they teaching them in history.
Is it the same thing that we're indoctrinated in school with? And if so, what culture are you teaching the children inside of the school? Whose culture is that?
Well,
I don't think you can come over. I'm just bullshitting, but I don't think you can come over to America without learning that first. These so-called black people in America, they were slaves, right? You got to pass that test. As long as you answer that question right, you good. Yeah, you free. Green card.
I was a kid running around in the 70s, and in elementary school, that was in the 70s, and up to from that time, and probably prior to, I've learned U.S. history. That's what it was called, United States history. So it didn't talk about American. That's not American history. But they taught us and instilled in us U.S. history, the corporation's history, mainstream white media history. That's what they taught in school. They taught very little about our ancestors.
What I was referring to was how that is the exact same. You're touching on what I'm talking about, but as far as U.S. history is concerned and what you're being taught in school, we know that as U.S. history, meaning the government, meaning that corporation, like you mentioned. Mm-hmm. But isn't that the same thing for the media?
That is the same thing for the media.
The media is taught to make the politicians look good. In turn, that makes the government look good. Same
Correct.
Thing with these so-called curriculums that they're teaching our children. That's why I asked that question originally. Whose culture are they referring to? Whose culture are they teaching in our school when all that information reverts back to just making this government look good?
Correct. Well, they're talking about the history of the United States Corporation of America. And that consists of, unfortunately, predominantly the white race and the things that they've done and how they've developed the 50 states. That's what it teaches about. And that's it. It teaches white history. Okay? And I'm not being racist. I'm telling the truth as I see it. They need to start in the educational system. The problem is they need to start with the truth first. Number one, they need to correct everything that was a lie. And I think once they do that, we can then institute a curriculum at the different levels of understanding for each age group. For example, the words need to be taught right. For instance, slave. When you think of slave, the first thing anybody in this country thinks, and anyone who comes here to learn about U.S. history, when you hear the word slave, the first two people you think of is black people and white people. Black person was the slave, white person was the master. That's a lie. Now, they need to tell the truth of what slavery is and what it's about. Slavery means employment. It's a type of employment. The mainstream media, the entertainment community, everybody that comes here
growing up thinking that a white man beat blacks with whips and went and got them from their land, which is a lie.
Yeah,
okay?
That needs to be thrown out the window. I agree.
It needs to be thrown out, needs to be corrected. And they need to explain what slavery is, that it is employment, and that the people, copper color people, received a benefit. They were compensated for their work. Probably not the best, but guess what? They also need to teach that there were white slaves too. That needs to be taught, because right now the whole world thinks that white people were just masters that beat black people real bad and enslaved them and raped them and whipped them. That needs to be fixed. They need to tell that white people came to America and they were slaves.
So your point, they do state that these white folks came over here on boats as slaves. It's just not publicized, or it's not institutionalized within their indoctrinating curriculums inside of the schools.
Correct.
We're taught at a very young age that we were the slaves. We had chains and shackles. They did that purposely so that could be embedded in us at a very young age, because that's what I told people. In order to manipulate the mindset, you got to give them a whole perspective. You got to give the individual a perspective to lean on and make it believable by having interactions with the unbelievable. Let me say it that way. The reason why I say it that way is because they're playing off of your imagination. They're playing off of your emotions and your imagination. That's been done for a very long time. That's called social engineering. They have been studying this process for years. And they know for a fact, and who I mean by they is the government, they know for a fact that they have to continuously do this towards our children. And we can not only blame the government.
Let's take a smoke break, man. It's too heavy right now. Hold on. It got too heavy. Let's quick smoke break. We'll get right back to it. He put on the big shout out to Donnie Hathaway, bro. All right, let's get back to it, because that was too heavy, man. I needed a little. Look at that. They breaking out the light bulb. I've been showing you a light bulb. It's gone now. But yeah. Been showing the light bulb. Intelligence, the sign of intelligence. I've been reading this quote. The true sign of intelligence is imagination. If the eye be single, come on, cast that net to the right. This is what we've been talking about. And this is the biggest lie being exposed, being debunked right now. Free your mind. Free your let your granddaddy. I'm telling you, he laid on his stomach right now. You keep calling him a slave. Your DNA. Got loyalty. I got royalty inside my DNA. I'm having a good time. I don't want it to end. They not like us.
I got loyalty, got royalty.
It's still kind of hard, man. I mean, pause. I've been rocking with Kendrick. I've been going back listening to the old stuff. Yeah, I'm ready. Had to get that out the way.
And to that point, we have to blame the parents. But that's why I said it's going to have to take a community of us to come together to let the parents know, look, there is a problem with what's being taught or told.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to stop it again. But remember in the Wizard of Oz, the Scarecrow he didn't get a brain. He got a diploma. And then all of a sudden he got smart. He knew the square root of something. And then the scarecrow is your straw man. Okay, that's my last time.
Rather, to your children in elementary school. That's number one. It's starting there. It's going all the way up to colleges and universities. They controlled this. They started controlling the use of information of how it comes about firmly. Okay, meaning how it comes about, how it is established and agreed upon in the 1940s, 1948 to be exact. And I shared this before. It's HR 3342. That is the Information and Educational Exchange Act. And they did it in every step of the way. Now, to the point where they had to come back and utilize the same act differently. They renamed it in order to add things like the internet and every other thing, like dealing with social media, for example, social media sites. The government wants control of all information. No matter if you came up with the idea internet or not, the government wants control of it, over it. Why? Why should we not have control over the information that we give our children?
Correct.
Well, number one, they're getting you both ways. They're getting you through slavery, which is employment. They're keeping you employed to take your time away from your children. So you won't have time to teach them at home. That's number one. That is number one. They keep you away from your children purposely by telling you that you have to go slave for some white man that you never seen before for the majority amount of years of your life. And you still got to raise your children. Now, that's difficult. So the child is left up to being taught by a stranger. That stranger was given a curriculum to teach by a body of people or a board in which that school board, that's what I'm referring to, has to answer to the government only.
A governing body.
The Department of Education is who they answer to.
United States Department of Education. That is correct.
And then Rockefeller about them early 1900s, maybe late 1800s.
The Department of Education is falling up under this government, and they have done this systematically by design. And who I mean, once again, when I say they, I'm always referring to the government, most likely. I just gave you the code. I'll give you the name of it. Like how they say it's public law. It's Public Law 80-402, 62 Stat 6. January 27th, 1948 is when they passed this. No, they didn't hear nothing about this out of Africa theory until this was passed.
There you go.
This is also a reason why I told people that information differs in other countries, because it's only the information that this government can control. That's why when you see these Africans come from so-called Africa and come here, they don't know what the hell you talking about. It won't fail, and it started in the 1940s, 1948. That wasn't that long ago.
No, it wasn't. That's when my mother was a little girl. She was born in 1948. And the same with my grandmother. She was born in 1931. And she was like livid when we watched Roots and thought those were our ancestors. She put a nipple in that. She said, not that she had anything against Africans. She did say, why are y'all crying? You're not from Africa. Because we cry when we seen Kunta Kinte get caught with those chains. My grandmother, she put a nip in it. No, you're not African. And so they need to teach the truth. There were black slaves, and guess what? There were white slaves too, working in the same damn cotton fields.
That was before they even had cotton. They didn't have cotton until the 1880s. I could be wrong about that. Cotton was the very last one.
King Cotton became King Cotton in 1790. So you got the United States being established 1776. Let's say about 15, 14 years later, King Cotton come along. And so 10 years before the 1800s start up, cotton become a thing. And cotton is tricky as hell because you literally gotta go out there and pick it when it's time to pick it. And, I mean, you gotta pick it. And then if you're trying to get some money off of picking cotton, I wish I had that. Damn, man. I had something for y'all too. Because it explained it way better than I can. But let me see if I can find it right quick. But okay, let's say you're trying to get some money off of picking cotton. Let me try to explain it. Damn. I guess this slavery. Okay, yeah, I ain't gonna find it. July 25th. I watched it. It looked like I watch a lot about slavery. I don't want y'all to see me look at it because the old lady. All right, man. Let me just let this play, man. I'm trying to. But it would explain it because the dude who you picking the cotton from is he want to cut of what you make. I don't have something you need something to put your cotton in, so you need like a satchel. He gonna let you rent the satchel. You might need a tool or something. You're gonna have to rent the tool. And then, like I said, cotton's so soft to get a pound of it, it's gonna take all day. You know what I'm saying? To make some money, because you're already renting the shit. You take it up there, he weigh it, he gonna take half. And they basically was cheating people out of a whole lot of money. That's what was going on. There was a whole lot of that going on. And that's what people was getting, people was getting their ass whooped. The plantations was getting burnt down because they was cheating a lot of people out of their wages.
Like that. It was the very last one.
That was the rebellions. I did all right.
And it came late. But yeah, it wasn't always the cotton fields that they were working in. In fact, because they tell you slavery was abolished in the 1863, 1865, but look up when they started having a vast majority of cotton. That started super late, and I can't remember the year exactly. In other words, this is how you know slavery continued on, because they were showing us cotton fields and our people were out there picking cotton, but that came later. In fact, picking cotton was going all the way up until the late 1940s, 1950s. In fact, they still didn't stop it, but that's a different topic. But
it's still people picking cotton.
Yeah, I can recall a few people's grandmothers I met saying they were still picking cotton in the 1940s.
Yeah,
1930s.
But they also failed to tell you that some of it was on their own land.
Yeah, of course. Yep. That's how they made money.
Yep.
If we're telling our children the truth, then it's us against the government. So we're saying that they need to teach the truth in the schools. We're going to tell our children the truth, but their teachings can't contradict ours. Just like with the Constitution, if you violate the supreme law of the land, any of the states, if it's unconstitutional for the Constitution, well, God damn it, what you're teaching my child is unconstitutional for me. I'm teaching my.
But see, they get you right upon birth because your parents don't know. They didn't sign you over to the state. They didn't get a contract with the state called the birth certificate, and they got them in a contract. And then boom, as soon as you sign that contract, they're gonna stab your baby up with all kind of vaccines and shit. These motherfuckers is diabolical, man. I'm sorry, excuse my language, but I just had to say it. But damn, this is some diabolical shit. Because she up here talking about the Constitution and all that sound good, but We go by maritime admiralty law. You come from your mother's water. So the law of the land don't apply to you. You came from water. And she signed that birth certificate saying you came from water. You're a property, your product. You're being sold. I'm gonna start mortgage. Yeah. How much you gonna make for us? We'll bet on that. The law of the land, that sounds good. It should be the Constitution, but you know, you're gonna have to know rights from privileges and what you're signing, all these documents you're signing. It gets deep. It's diabolical, but it's the papacy. Like I said, papacy, paper, the papal, the pope, paper. He binds. He's the one. He come with that paperwork, and then everybody just gets scared. Like, fuck that paperwork. I ain't signing shit.
My child, the truth. You stop referring to my child. Stop referring to my child as a goddamn African and black. We don't teach our children that they're Africans, that they came on slave ships, that they're slaves, and that Negroes. We don't teach our kids that. We teach them the truth. We teach them what happened to us. We teach them that our main identities were changed and we were given labels. That's the truth.
We were given classifications.
You wasn't killed. You wasn't shot up. It wasn't no war. It was just paperwork. The papacy, the Pope, paper. All we come to do is change your names on a piece of paper, and then that's law. And then you believe in law because you believe in Moses came down from the heavens with law. And these people control law.
We were given classifications. So these are the truths that we need to teach to our children. No, you're not from Africa. And then don't go to school and have them celebrate African American History Month because they're not Africans.
And does that even exist? I thought it was called Black History Month.
That's what I was just thinking.
Exactly.
Same difference.
And I don't even like that.
I like that point. I like that point, though.
You know, and I don't even like that either. And they don't understand the things that they've done to our children and that they do to our children. Okay? So that, in a nutshell, needs to be taught. Number one, everybody that came over here was just about a damn slave. And if you had to come here, you're a foreigner. However, if you were already here, you are not a foreigner and you are an aboriginal to this landmass. We do not teach our children that we came here because we didn't. We were already here when the Irish and all these other races came here.
That's correct.
Facts.
And they acknowledge that. See, the thing is that they acknowledge that in their records. I always give people the Virginia colony of London. All you got to do is pick up the Virginia statutes at large. Once you pick up those records, you can literally find out and see who they were in contact with when they got here. Keep in mind, the Virginia colony was controlled by the Virginia Company of London. So you know how far that history go back. Now we talking about 1600s.
Correct.
So, and I'm talking about early 1600s. So you may get some late 1500 stuff in there too. If you read like how I read 5 books damn near a damn day. I'm over exaggerating a little bit. It could be 2 days, but I'm a reader. My grandmother had me reading books before I could even go outside when I was young. I'm telling you, I read. I don't play that shit.
Right.
I couldn't go outside until I read the book and had to come to her and tell her what the book was about. And I better not lie because she didn't already read the book.
That's right. And we had to write book reports and give them to our
goddamn right.
mother. We had to write a book report. When we
my grandmother ain't play that.
Yeah.
My grandmother told me she wanted me to be a mayor or something. She just wanted me to be something, okay? To be separated from what was going on in front of my face. Yep. Which was she knew the fact that they were doing indoctrination inside of these schools. So she wanted me in the best schools that she could possibly get me in, whether she had to come out of pocket or not. I went to them schools with them white folks when I got older. So this is how I can tell you, yes, they were getting taught the same thing.
Yeah.
Because I still had friends back at home telling me what they were being taught, showing me, yo, can you help me with this?
Yes.
And see what the problem is what they, man, I could get deeper on this topic, and I will, because it's a lot of stuff that they're teaching right now as we speak inside of them schools that don't make no goddamn sense.
It don't. It doesn't.
That should be questioned.
Does not.
And it should be out. I'm talking about out right now, out. Like, it shouldn't even be there. Like, number one, you know for a fact that any record that you see with the title is Black people or African American people, as soon as you see that, you know that information has an agenda and it's not in your favor. That's
Correct.
number one.
Yep.
That means that was not done by somebody with the best intent for our people. Because our people should not, and haven't been historically, in a large scale, referring to themselves as African American nor Black. And I proved that multiple times.
Or Negro, or mulatto, or colored.
Yeah, none of these classifications that were given to us by this goddamn government.
By this government.
And Indian, by the way.
Yeah.
Indian also.
Indian.
Okay.
Right. They gave us that too. They actually created a person and called it an Indian. And we have that for facts. They created an Indian and disregarded the brown one, my complexion, the original, the full blood. That's what they did.
Yeah, they gave you a different look for what an Indian was supposed to be.
Correct.
Hollywood.
They wanted to change the way or the natural way of the real Aboriginal. 100%, I'm pure. Okay? But then, because a white man had a baby with a Black woman, or vice versa, you're the Indian. The browner one is the Negro. That's what they did.
Why was that term Negro used on us? Out the blue now, out the blue. Because they were trying to tell us that it came from the Spanish term negra, but that means a person of color, not from Africa. They didn't say that. That means a person of a darker hue.
Right.
Of a darker hue, negra, negro. But were these pale faces coming over here using it that same way? No, they were not.
You mean negro and negra.
Negro. Negra, negro. That's Latin.
In the Latin language.
In the Latin language. See, and keep in mind what they call that area. Latin America? Tell me where Latin America's located.
In the Americas. But it's another name given by
another classification given by the government.
Given by the government.
They telling you they marking off their territory with an imaginary line.
Correct.
Okay. What area did they have to tell Trump that the U.S. controlled? That he forgot?
South America?
It was in Latin America. It was an area in Latin America that he referred to, and he forgot. And it's the reason why.
They became a state way later.
Exactly. That's the reason why. Hold on. They're not a state, but at the same time, yes, it is a state. A state is a country. Puerto Rico was one of the last countries that did what?
Became a state.
That consented to this government. Remember that picture I was showing people where it was Uncle Sam pointing at the Indian at the door?
And the Cubans and all of them, yep.
Yeah. Look at the Indian in the back. It looked like he got the ABCs, but it's upside down. He ain't even trying to teach him. Uncle Sam ain't even trying to teach him. He over there like he in trouble. The wild Indian. He ain't even trying to teach him that he got it upside down, so he misreading it. And so it's upside down, so it's really CBA. A CBA. Hold on. We just was talking about this. The damn $1 bill. The CBA is a collective bargain agreement. That's when two seals become one. That's what I was talking about. And there ain't no words on this. Yeah, this our seal. It's supposed to be quiet. This seal where everybody can know about this seal. Everybody can throw eggs at this seal. They don't care. Collective bargaining agreement for the money. Two seals become one. See, if you're just reading it, you think, oh, ABCs. But it's upside down. It's supposed to be CBAs, collective bargaining agreement. That's the Indian, the dark Indian, back there misreading the papacy. Bruh, come on, bro. Come on, man. The papacy, the paper. We got this contract for you. Here go this contract. You gotta sign this contract. Yeah, we'll do it, but you gotta sign this contract.
Okay. And you saw that list of who came late, who consented to the government and its rulership.
Puerto Rico.
And it's not what y'all think it is. See, they try to make it seem like it was a battle. Like all that fake Viking shit that y'all see on TV is they lying. Like the movie 300, and they talking about a battle went down like that. They lying. They lying. They lying. That's not what happened. It's about what government accepted what government. And the whole time they had to give themselves the upper hand, and I mean the pale faces in general, by coming up with these stories that people felt for. And they gave you these descriptive terms and all this conceptualism. They gave you the images to make it seem as if it was true, versus them giving you hard evidence, primary sources. They lied about those Viking stories, the 300, and it was a big battle. And who was that they claimed in the Bible that was chained to two big poles and brought it all down with his bare arms?
Oh, the strongest man in the world. No. Oh, Samson.
Okay, when Samson, now I want y'all to think about this for a second. This might get deep. Hold on. See, if my wife was here, she would have stopped me by now.
Here, they're talking about here in that Bible.
They talking about
in that here.
That's right.
Ear, H-E-R.
Exactly. They talking about exactly. Now that also exposes a different side.
Damn, I'm glad she said that, because I've been saying here is Walls for Harris and Walls teaming up. Here is what the hair is the heir to the throne. Is Walls. Is Walls. It's something there. I'm glad she said that.
Okay, for example, let's hit you with another example just like that. The story of Tarzan telling you that some pale faces swinging in a tree, right? Huh? How the hell you from Africa, but you Tarzan swinging in some trees, and you white?
Oh!
Y'all want me to get deeper?
Listen, honey.
Huh?
Go ahead on. Go ahead.
This is what I'm telling you, white supremacy is an illusion. When I say that, that's what I'm referring to. They have to give themselves that power to make it seem as if they up. This is the reason why they put themselves at the top, to make it seem as if they up. This is the reason why they put Europe at the top of the map, to make it seem as if they up. They at the bottom the whole time. This entire government ain't got shit on us. Nothing. It's all talk.
It's all it always has.
This whole time, even with the documents, all talk. Treaties, all talk. Congressional meetings, all talk. The president talking to the people, all talk. The media, all talk. Real talk. Look at it. It's an illusion. It's an illusion. They making it seem as if you fitting in, but they keeping you out for a reason. Because if you inside, you can expose their insides.
You get to know the truth.
I'm not gonna go too far on this, y'all. I'm not gonna go too far on this, but that's why they want you deep inside that Bible. Because the more you learn that Bible, the more you'll become attached and consent to the government.
Correct.
It's that deep. It's that deep. And I told you, this is the reason why them Goose videos ain't do well. Because you ain't gonna show you the videos I told you about this government. They